in the lightning lane. The lunch pail, Matt American, Matt American!
Welcome everybody back to Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate. It's Kate today with our next guest, but I want to touch base on our sponsor, which is Denmark Acres Standardbred Racing Breeding and the home to the stallion of Matt American. Today's guest, we're going to start with his stats, and by his stats, I mean everybody would know him, and we would like to get to know more about him. So today's guest is Dale Spence. So welcome aboard, Dale. And
how's it going today?
Good. We're gonna just chat about your stats for a minute, and then we'll jump into everything and get the thing rolling. So 2023 was a huge year for you. You had 69 wins, 59 seconds, 40 thirds, and you banked over $200,000. Now, this year, you're just about where you were last year, and it's only the beginning. So 2024, you've had 19 wins, 17 seconds, 21 thirds, and you are just shy $654 of hitting the 200,000 mark already. So This year has been pretty good for you so far, I would say.
Yeah, it's been great. We relocated up to Ontario for the winter. We didn't really have enough interest in people that wanted to buy Mackenzie and I some babies to train for the winter, and essentially that's what you need to make a go of it at home. So we made the decision in early August probably that we were going to make the trek to Ontario for the winter, and because we had a few racehorses that we own pieces of stuff that we thought might do up here. We made the move at the end of October, and it seems to be been a good one so far. So
awesome. So can you tell us of how you kind of started getting into the racing? We all know your father has, he's the regular at the track. Your mom, she did the selling tickets and she worked in the lounge for years. Was it your parents that got you, involved in harness racing, or was there other people?
No. So how it kind of worked was, from what I gathered, when before I was ever thought of, my dad owned either small pieces of racehorses or owned racehorses, and my uncle actually got involved in the business when dad owned horses, and then when I come along, my parents got out of the business because for financial reasons, I'd assume. And so when I grew up, I wasn't really around the track a whole lot. My uncle would always have me out, when I was younger, and he'd take me for a jog or whatever. And then one day, my dad remained an avid fan, as we know, and I was always at the races with him when I could be, when I wasn't playing sports. And one day it was coming up to exhibition week, and I said to Dad, I'm going to go over and visit Uncle Mike in the barns. And I'd always been interested in the horses, but like I said, I was so busy with sports and stuff like that. So I went over to the barn and just said to Uncle Mike, geez, do you guys need a hand around here for exhibition week? And he laughed and said, what are you going to do around here, boy? The shit fork's bigger than you. And anyways, it went from there. And I grew up like with my uncle at the track around a whole bunch of good fellas, like worked for Jill for years. They always took care of me, like Jill and Mike Clinton, Ricky Collins, like Serge Cormier, Randy Phelps. I mean, I can't say enough. Bobby McNeil, like the boys around the track really raised me. I mean, once I was about 15 on, whether it be good or bad, I'm not sure, but here we are. We're in, we're living an easy life. I mean, racing horses is not easy by any means, but it's one of those things. If you can live your dream, then why not?
Exactly. Absolutely. And you're living your dream. So you've been in Ontario for the past few months, and like I said, you already have 19 wins on this season's card. Since you're doing something that you absolutely love, what was the decision, like you said, to move off into Ontario? Like you said, it was the baby reason, but is there any other reasons to, during the off season and the Maritimes to kind of shift to Ontario?
Yeah, I mean the racing was a big part of it. At the end of the day, if you have horses in PEI and you're not exactly, if you don't exactly have enough and you have to work another job, and in the on the island it's tough to find it's generally a seasonal place. I mean the golf courses aren't open, so there's no golf courses to work at. Lawn care companies, unless you're plowing snow or working at a rink. When you're living in rural PEI, you're not really doing a whole lot in the winter. So the main thing was when we came up here was essentially to, if we didn't have enough horses, every night of the week there's racing. There's always people looking for help that you can go out and make some money if need be, if you don't have enough of your own horses to make a go of it. And that was mostly the reason, just to make sure, we were able to still make a living in harness racing with smaller numbers. It was one of those things, if we didn't come, we were still going to do all right. But it was one of those things that, we had a few horses that we've thought may do, backed obviously by American history. And then we purchased some colts that we actually owned pieces of that we thought may do if they, if they reach their genetic potential, I'm going to say. So, having Pat, Hill, and Kelly, they fully supported us in the move up here and assured us that, the old man wasn't going anywhere, and it's been really good.
Awesome. You've mentioned connections that you've worked for Jill's. What was it like to work with, a winning trainer, and he's had so many, opportunities and so many exciting things happen in his life. And for him to be, kind of a mentor to you, what was it like to have him in your life?
Yeah, it was I mean, you didn't have to ask a whole lot of questions. All you had to do was stand back and watch. I mean, his work ethic is second to none. Those horses that he has in his care, I mean, they're just, that's part of the reason. I mean, there's in order to have success, you need opportunity. But at the end of the day, if you're not putting the work in, you're just not going to have success. And I mean, Jill's work ethic is second to none, and that's mostly what I learned. And his horsemanship, I mean, like I said, it's just to be able to learn from those guys really benefits you going forward. And, when I was a little bit younger, I didn't really see actually how imperative that was. But looking back now, I looked at how much I learned, like, working for Jill, and the guys too that are around Jill. Like, I remember when he was really rocking and rolling, like the guys that were working with him, like, Scotty Hubbard, Murray Sewell, my uncle, Ricky Collins, like those guys were in the barn every day. Like they knew they were good horsemen too, so it all comes down to a team effort as well. If you don't have the right team behind you, if you're, kind of like the Toronto Maple Leafs right now, I don't really think they were pulling, although they did win last night. It doesn't seem like their dressing room's pulling. Harness racing's no different. You need every member on your team to be pulling. And part of the reason why Mackenzie and I keep our numbers so small is so that we can keep our team small. And hopefully at the end of the day, maybe turn a little bit of a profit. But at the end of the day, we work hard together. And I believe our horses show that, we put the work in all the time. Mackenzie, obviously more than me. I'm just a hired help. I mean, she's the workhorse that keeps us going. So, I think at the end of the day, as long as your team's pulling in harness racing, your horses are going to race good. And you see that after being in the business for a long time, or, I'm only young. I haven't been in the business as long as some people, but, you witness that happen.
Absolutely. So as a driver, every driver remembers their very first win. Tell us about your very first win.
Yeah, it was with a horse by the name of Climb the Ladder. A fella from St. John owned him, Kenny Fudge. Kenny got me to qualify a couple of horses, Simca and Climb the Ladder. And actually, after I win my first race with Ladder, we purchased him off of Kenny Fudge actually for $1,800, I believe it was. I might have told my dad it was $2,000, so I'd make an extra $200. But Uh, that's I think that's how it went, anyways. But yeah, we purchased him, and Ladder was a very classy horse. I remember one day in Woodstock, there was a 4-horse race going on. There had been a couple scratches, and I was sitting in the 3-hole with him, and what happened was the horse that was in the 2-hole made a standstill break, and me being me, I was just young, it was my first year driving. I mean, you always try and have your head up, but you, with little experience, it's hard to, know exactly what was going on. And that old horse, he just popped right out around the horse that made the standstill break and dropped back into the 2-hole. And I never seen it yet. And my uncle said to me when I came off the racetrack with him, he said, "You know what? That's exactly why we bought you that horse, so you couldn't get in any trouble." So he was a pretty special horse. He was one that he'd seen better days. I mean, he had raced most of the big dances. Richie Silverman had him when he was a young horse. Like, he was in the Meadowlands Pace Eliminations, Little Brown Jug Eliminations. Like, he'd seen a lot of dances, but I think he was 12 at that time, or 11. And, he was quite worn out, but he was exactly what I needed to start my career off.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you had the opportunity last year to go into the Gold Cup and Saucer.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? Because everyone loves the race. Everyone dreams of being in it. What was it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's I'd driven in it before with Kashmir Richie P. But that year there, it was actually COVID, and it wasn't the same experience as last year. Last year was breathtaking. I mean, once you get under the spotlight, it was special with Richie, but when you have all your people on the sidelines, and I mean, the amount of people there, it's just breathtaking, let alone when everyone goes silent, when the lights go out. It's a feeling that you never really get rid of. It's one that I want to do again. Yeah, it's just, I can't explain the feeling you get being in that race, and its heritage and the prestige. It's just I can't really explain it to you what the feeling was, because I hope I feel it again. That's how, it's one of those feels that if you get it once, you want it more.
Exactly. Like you mentioned, you had American history in the Gold Cup. Do you think maybe this year you're gonna take that route again, try them, or sit back? Maybe there's other opportunities.
No, we're 100% Pat Hill. He bought that horse for the Gold Cup and Saucer. He's a good old horse, and we're definitely, if we can, as long as he's healthy and sound, we'll be there again this year for sure. Hopefully make it into the Gold Cups or the eliminations,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You held a track record at your home track. And do you remember the pacer that you held the track record with?
Yeah, it was a horse by the name of Big League. He was actually bred in New Brunswick by Cheryl Greer. He was broke as a yearling at the track in St. John by Sean Dooley. I believe he was sold to U.S. interests as at the end of his 2-year-old year. I could be wrong in saying that, but then he kind of went through the rigor and landed back in the Maritimes as a 4-year-old, and Neil Mose had him then, I believe, or it might have been Dave McDonald. I'm not really sure how Neil came to acquire him, but he was a very special horse. Extreme speed, especially for a big horse on a small track. He wore an extra large bike and needed every inch of it. He was just that big of a horse. And Sean did a phenomenal job with him as a baby. The horse, I mean, he was just a real good horse. And he knew that racetrack better than anyone with the amount of miles Sean would have went with him over it. So that day there it was special. But track records don't happen every day, and the reason for it is you need the right horse, the race to set up, but overall you need the environmental conditions. I mean, that day there, the flag poles, the flags were absolutely still. It was a perfect temperature out there. It was the right humidity. Those are the kind of things that go into making track records. Like I said, people underestimate the amount that actually goes into it. That's why they don't happen all the time, because you can't create the perfect conditions.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Okay. So within the Maritimes, has there been any kind of top 3 horses that have really stuck out to you throughout the past couple of years?
Sorry, can you say that again? I didn't quite hear you.
Yep. Nope. Throughout the Maritimes, with the past couple of years, has there been a couple of horses, like 2 or 3, that have really stuck out to you on the racing circuit?
Yeah, I mean, Woodmere Steel Deal, I mean, he was an absolute freak of nature, it seemed to be. Anyways, that year there was 3 colts that went at it. I believe it was Bet 'em Again, Woodmere Steel Deal, and Rotten Ronnie. Like, they battled it out all year. And, the Woodmere Steel Deal, the horse he turned into was phenomenal. I believe he paced him out in 48-4, or actually winning 48-4. And it was fun to watch him go on, especially after driving against him a little bit. But other than that, like, I can't really, we do so much racing that it's hard to remember all the horses, but if you get a trigger, you know exactly the horse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We talked to Ben Hollingworth, which is your buddy, and
Yeah.
I actually didn't get a chance to talk to him because I had a power outage as soon as we started recording. But
Okay.
I know Ben, and I know you. Your guys are very close, and you have been close for years. He talked highly of you to Scott on the podcast. What does it mean to you to have support like Ben in your corner?
Yeah, I mean, without Benny, like, I just like, he's the one that we've been friends since we were kids. We traveled around the Maritimes, racing the stake circuit when I was helping Jill out, and he was with Phil Pinkney then. And to have a friend like Ben, and especially to be able to be stable at the same training center as him, he gives me every chance he can. He gives me an opportunity to try and prove myself up here, which I can't explain to you how much that means to me. And I mean, he's also one of my good friends. He comes over every Sunday for dinner. He cooks a big scoff for us, and we relax, call it family day. So it's one of those things, like, you can't, you never could replace a person like Ben. I mean, he's just a phenomenal guy and a great friend, and hopefully we can keep the ball rolling. It all started back in the day, and there was one Saturday night there where he win one race and we win one, and we'd actually trucked to the track together to Mohawk. And he said, "Can you imagine, like, 20 years ago when we first started being friends, like, that we'd win a couple of races at Mohawk on a Saturday night?" And I said, "Absolutely not. If you would have told me that, I would have called you crazy." But here we are doing it, and like, Benny's another guy. Like, I talked about Jill and his work ethic, but like, Ben puts his nose to the grindstone every day, and he doesn't lift it until all the work's done. He's a terrific horseman, and he's a younger guy who's cutting his teeth. I mean, he's got really good support in the Pollies, and Michael Goldberg and a few other owners, and they Ben's doing a terrific job with everything.
Absolutely. So, being a driver in the Maritimes, but also now in Ontario, are there any guys that you really like to have fun with on the track, pick and prod at them, get them going?
Yeah, I'm not really much of a jokester, I don't think. Sometimes I am. I mean, we always torture each other out there. That's just part of it. One thing about it, though, we can all be friends off the track, but on the racetrack, you gotta have that competitive spirit. Regardless of if they're like the other drivers or your friends, you got to make sure that you're taking care of your trainer as well as your horse and your horse owner. One thing that I've kind of learned over the years, like, is one, that's what Ernie Laffin said one day. Actually, he said, we can all be friends off the track, but on the track, we're enemies. And but the biggest thing is, I think I've learned a little bit more respect for the horse, I'm gonna say. Before, I'd give horses hard trips, and never really thought of it as a hard trip. But now, like, where we're doing it for a living and stuff, I think I've become a little bit more horse conscious, I'm gonna say, when I'm driving horses. But it's a thing. Like, I'm still a young guy. I'm only 31 years old. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, and I just try and do my best every time that I hit the racetrack, and keeping everything in mind that you got to take care of yourself, your horse. You got to try and get the most out of it for the person that owns the horse, and you always got to keep a good working relationship with your trainer. I believe a good driver-trainer relationship makes horses phenomenally better. And also, you got to remember too, when you're a driver, like, you're not going to get along with every horse. I don't care what anyone says. Like, I'll be the first one to say, if I'm not getting quite along the best with a horse that I'm driving, to say to the guy, perhaps you should try someone else, because I think there's more in there. I'm just not getting it out. or I'm just not able to get the horse a proper trip, and it's nothing against anyone. It's just, I'm a big believer in collision theory and atoms and stuff like that. And when you get the right collision going on, there's certain trainer driver horse relationships that just you can't beat them. Look at like Tyler Borth and Emmett's buddy. He gets along with Emmett's buddy like like a glove. And there's some relationships over the years. Like there was a mare that I drove for Jay Noy that I can't remember her name. It's right on the tip of my tongue, but seeing that I got along with her better than anyone, and there's horses that I haven't gotten along with that, let's say Dave Dowling gets along with, or, Mark Campbell, he's probably the guy that can get the most speed out of every horse that I've seen around. Like he can get the most out of every horse every time that I can see. Mark's he's a good horseman and great driver.
Absolutely. So to finish this off, let's have some fun with some non-horse racing kind of question. Who will win the Stanley Cup?
Who's going to win the Stanley Cup?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I couldn't even tell you who's in the playoffs, to be honest with you. I'm bad for that. I know the Leafs and the Bruins are playing the series right now, but I don't pay that much attention. Being in Toronto has been cool because I've actually, I started paying a little more attention to professional sports, especially like the Toronto teams. But I'm an Ottawa Senators fan, so I haven't had a whole lot to cheer for a long time. So now that the playoffs have started, hockey's in the air.
All right. What's your go-to restaurant?
My go-to restaurant, there's a spot in Tyne Valley called Backwoods Burger. Love Backwoods Burger, and Valley Pearl Oysters is a great spot. Like, those two restaurants that are in Tyne Valley, they're just great. I'd go there if I could travel right from where I am right now to Tyne Valley. The first thing I'd be doing is going to get a bite to eat at Jeff's Valley Pearl Oysters. Like, that's just how it is. A couple beer and a bite to eat there would be great.
Awesome. What is your pastime like outside of racing? Is there any exciting sports that you like to do? Anything that you like back and enjoy?
I love playing hockey. That was something that I missed out on this year, actually. I'm up about 10 to 15 pounds, actually. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I was playing hockey probably about 3 times a week in the Valley, and every winter. And then we came up here, and there just wasn't room in the trailer for the gear, so I didn't end up playing any hockey at all. So I do enjoy hockey, but now that summer's here, golf is a good pastime. So I'm looking forward to getting on the golf course whenever I can.
Awesome. Last one. What would the listeners be surprised to know about you?
I don't really know. I'm pretty much an open book. I don't think there's a whole lot anyone doesn't know, because I don't really keep a whole lot to myself, I don't think. But it might be that I'm a numbers guy. Statistics, I love statistics. Numbers are my thing. That's why when my average gets below 300, it's significantly lower this year, but that's, impartial of the move and stuff like that, and just getting going again. When anytime you move spots, it gets hard. But I'm a numbers guy, and like you said, the money number, it means something, but not really to me. I'm more of a statistics guy. Like, I want to bat like 20% winners and have a 300 average. Like, that's my goal. And if we can do that, then everybody that you're connected with should be doing good. One thing is I put a little bit too much pressure on myself too, because I do pay attention to numbers, but sometimes you got to forget about them. But I do love statistics.
Awesome. Something that came to my mind when we were talking about growing up, doing things. I remember back in the day, Dale, me and you, we were the jog cart racing champs.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Remember that was fun in Truro. Would that be something that you would do all over again? Would you, if Truro was, would you have fun with that?
Oh yeah, I love any kind of competition, but the boys were just up in class that day. I was in shape, and they had no shot.
Perfect. Well, that's gonna be the wrap. And thank you Bill for joining me on Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate, sponsored by Denmark Acres, Standardbred Racing and Breeding, home of the stallion Mad American. Thank you, Dale, and everyone stay tuned for the next episode, which is Scott, myself, and Grady Hatchie. We're going to have a fun night of picks for Charlottetown's opening day. The queen right here will have her crown on, ready to go with the picks. So thanks for everybody for tuning in, and that's Behind the Gate with Scott and Kate.
Deep in the lightning lane, the lunch pail, Mad American, Matt American!